Welcome to the Radical Responsibility Revolution podcast. This is where we are transforming lives, inspiring you to reclaim your health, your wealth, and the power of your mind. Here we share actionable insights, inviting you to turn inwards and design your life of purpose and abundance. Welcome back to another episode of Radical Responsibility Revolution. And today's guest is one of those women who didn't just survive her story, she listened to it. Oh, funny, we were just talking about that. She trusted it and she allowed it to completely rewire her life. Completely. I'm joined by Amy Thurman, a former educated and social worker whose life changed in an instant and then changed again through radical trust, embodied truth, and an unshakable commitment to authenticity. Amy lived for 10 years with a broken neck. Okay, y'all, this story just blows me away. She was undiagnosed for 6 months, navigating a brain injury, disability systems, relearning how to walk, read, and live, and standing at a crossroads where spirit asked her a simple but life altering question. What if you didn't have to die and instead chose to live and use your story to help others? That choice led to best-selling books, global stages, Times Square billboards, keynotes, and a powerful body of work centered around what she calls authentic intelligence. I can't wait to hear more about that. The wisdom that emerges when the inside and the outside finally match is what she does today. Amy doesn't sugarcoat, my kind of girl. She doesn't perform, she doesn't posture. She embodies coherence, heart, mind, body, and truth in alignment. In a world flooded with AI, comparison culture, and performative personas, her work speaks directly to what so many of us are craving right now: realness, resonance, and responsibility for who we are becoming. This is a conversation about trust, intuition, wisdom, authenticity, and what happens when you stop trying to drive the bus and let the universe show you the next breadcrumb, which I love that so much. Amy, thank you so much for being here. And I'm so excited to ask you this question. Who are you today? What is Amy doing as serving this beautiful planet? I know you've done so many things and we'll talk about those, but who are you today? What is this version of Amy?
Such a great question. Thank you so much for having me, Debbie. Such a warm welcome. I love that so much, and I'm just really honored to be here today in this moment because it changes so rapidly. Like we evolve and grow so quickly.
Exactly.
But in this moment, right now, I am serving the world by helping others learn to own, embrace, and live in their authentic self and their most authentic version of themselves. And it has been life changing for myself and for other people. It's beautiful work that I feel gifted to be able to bring to the world, and it makes me emotional.
Yeah.
I am just really grateful.
Yeah. So, along those lines, what if I were to ask you, we all have a superpower, even though we don't recognize that. Marvel made bazillions of dollars on that idea of superheroes. But we as women have a superpower. So, what is your superpower that you bring in this way that you serve?
I feel like my superpower is because, like you said, we don't really see it in ourselves. It's something other people tell us, and I feel like my superpower is being able to see into people's souls. Like I don't see people as
Mm,
bodies. I don't really see the physical container. I see into their soul, and it sometimes it becomes a problem because people put up walls and they wear masks because
mhm,
they don't want people to see what's going on underneath. They're hiding a lot, but I see right through
mm,
that. And
yeah,
and they don't like that. People don't want to. They feel so naked and vulnerable around
mhm,
me, but I don't care. Like I have such
yeah,
a love for people, a genuine unconditional love for people and who they are at the soul level, that
mhm.
I just really offer a safe space. And I feel like that's my gift and my purpose. My superpower
Yeah.
is just offering a safe space for people to be human.
But also better than X-ray vision that you can see into somebody's soul. That's really
Yeah,
remarkable. So
yeah.
you didn't always have this place that you are right now, and we have to talk about how you got here. And the idea that you walked around with this injury for a decade is crazy. So I want you to tell us that story because everybody's story brings them to where they are. And it's not as if we want to stay stuck there, but it has to be told because that's created who you are. That's birth, the Amy that we see today. So tell us that journey. Tell us the story of how you got here.
It's so true. Like I am the person I am today because of the trauma that I have endured and gone through and learned from. So I was working at a major university one day, and the very next day I couldn't even take myself to the restroom. I got up during the night and I felt sick. So I got up to take some medicine. So I was headed to the kitchen and I passed out and I landed on my face on the hardwood floor in my living room. And 6 months later, doctors told me that the impact from that fall had sheared my brainstem, caused a traumatic brain injury, and broke my neck. So I was a walking miracle. I still am a walking miracle. The fact
Hmm.
that that impact did not kill me is a miracle. But I was completely incapacitated for about a year. I couldn't walk, talk, hear, or see correctly. And I had to wear a cover over my eyes, earplugs in my ears. I could barely speak above a whisper. And I lost that entire year of my kids' lives. My daughter was a senior in high school. My son was a freshman in high school, and my youngest son was 4 years old. And
Wow.
I missed that entire year. I lost my job. I lost my sense of self worth. And in the process, I almost lost myself because it was such a miserable existence. I just, I felt like such a burden to my family because they had to do everything for me. Like I said, I went from one day doing all the things to the next day, I couldn't even take myself to the
Mhm.
restroom. So I decided the answer was to just put myself and my family out of this misery. And I knew that I had enough pain medication to make it happen. And it would be quick and it would be easy and it would be painless. And that's what I wanted in that moment. And so I was going to swallow a handful of pills. But before I could get to that point, as you alluded to in the introduction, my heart said to me, what if you don't have to die? What if you can make a different choice? What if you can take the same energy you're using trying to die and you flip it around and
Mm.
you use it to fight to live? Maybe you can get better. And if you can get better, maybe you can use your experience to help others. So I came here. I am a former educator and social worker, as you mentioned, and I know that I came here to help people. That's my purpose, is to help others. And being incapacitated in that bed, I wasn't even able to help myself, much
Mm.
less help others. So, this thought that my heart and my soul gave to me that maybe I could help others from this incapacitated state, which did not make sense to me at the time. I couldn't see beyond that, but I
Mhm.
trusted my soul. And I said, okay, I'm going to give it a shot and we'll see where it goes. So I began to fight to live with the intention of using my story to help others. And that's really what it became.
That's, it's so fascinating to me to hear these stories that are so the same. They're different, but they have that same thread that goes through them. That we get to this place, whether it be through the trauma or the drama, and we are at a crossroads. We can make a choice to go down that path. I'm going to check out. I'm going to give up. I'm going to cry, or
Sure.
I'm going to make a different decision. And when you make that different decision, then this whole beautiful world opens up that you are now living, that I'm sure the person you are today, you weren't even imagining her in that moment. It was just a choice to say yes and move forward. So, where do you believe your soul told you that this is the moment? I'm getting goosebumps even having this question because it's so beautiful and yet it's so profound. And I want other women to hear, what is that calling? Was it what we call intuition? How do you feel like you heard or felt that message?
This has only happened to me twice in my life, and it wasn't audible, but it felt like a voice speaking to me directly to my heart. I didn't hear it with my ears. It's like I heard it with
Mhm.
my heart. I have very good, very tapped in intuition that
Mhm.
I feel in my body, but this was different. It was like I said, like a voice speaking to my heart, like my soul was listening, like my soul could hear it. And I don't know how else to explain it,
Yeah.
but it's like my soul heard it, but my brain repeated it in words that I could understand. So I remember in my brain hearing the words from my voice that came into my soul, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think it
Yeah.
makes sense to people that
Yeah.
haven't experienced it yet. It's so distinct though. And when you do have it, and not to say that not everybody has it.
Sure.
They may not have heard it or they're not listening yet. So I want to go
Right.
a little bit before that experience. Who were you right before then that your higher self called you into that experience? Because that experience was not a mistake. That was
Right.
part of your journey and part of your
Mm-hmm.
path. What led up to that though? Because I know that what I see women go through is they doing the hustle, the conversation that I have to do all of this. This is the path that I'm supposed to be on to get success or be okay with myself. And we get a wake up call. And yours was
Yeah.
pretty dramatic. It fell flat on your face. So what were you doing right before that?
Yeah, it was definitely dramatic. I was, like I said, working for a major university and I was working a lot of hours. I was actually
Hmm.
spending more time with my students and their families than I was with my own family. And even on the weekend, I would bring work home with me. When I wasn't working at home, I would volunteer. So I was constantly doing something because that's where I got my sense of self worth. That's what society teaches us, that the
Yep.
busier we are,
Yep.
the more we're accomplishing, the more worthy we are. And I was listening to that. I believed that. So
Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
just chugging along, doing as much
Yep.
as I could so that I could feel worthy. And I
Hmm.
believe with all my heart that this experience happened to me to show me that that's not true. That's not how
Yeah.
it is. That
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
just as much worth and I had just as much worth laying flat in that bed for 23 hours a day for almost a year. I was just as worthy then as I was when I was doing all of those things. And that became apparent to me, obviously not overnight. It took a process
Hmm.
of me working
Hmm.
through all of the things that I was experiencing. But my plan before the accident was to go on and get my doctorate and to impart more knowledge onto these students and help them become better people, citizens, and help in that way. But that's
Hmm.
not what my purpose is. That's not who I was
Yeah.
meant to be and who the way I was meant to serve in this lifetime. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that I listened and I allowed it to unfold in the way that it did, even though I couldn't see a
Hmm.
way out. I couldn't even see the next step on the path. But I trusted the universe. I trusted my soul to just show up for
Hmm.
me, to give me the step when it was time. And it has led to so many crazy cool things in my life. I just really am
Yeah.
grateful.
Yeah. I love that. As you were telling that story, I often say that we all wear these busy badges. Like if I'm busier, like if I'm doing more. And so I
Yeah.
imagined you like in a uniform, like a Girl Scout or a Brownie, and you had all the busy badges. Like you just
Oh yeah.
had it,
Oh
you were doing it, doing it, doing it. And then the incongruity of it was that you weren't spending time with your family. And then when you shared in the first part of this, that you were so distraught because you weren't being of service to your family while you're laying on your back when you weren't in the first place, which I just think is so funny. The universe has the biggest sense of humor ever. I always say
yes.
it's the universe
Absolutely.
is laughing at me constantly.
Right.
So I want to talk about your authentic intelligence because now we're here. You've come to this point now. What called you to this authentic component? Because authenticity is what I believe is the world is craving right now. We've got so much with technology and AI and social media that's fake and influencers. And so the world is really craving this authenticity. So what pulled you towards that, first of all?
Yeah, this is what the world wants. It's what it needs for sure. And I lived the other side of it and it wasn't working. It's not really working for even people who think it's working for them. It's not. Being fake and trying to pretend and trying to push and meet all these expectations, and it's just not how we're designed. So this
Yeah.
experience of going through this journey, living 10 years with a broken neck, at the end of that, when I began to fight my way through the medical and the disability system, people began watching me and they kept saying to me, Amy, you're such an inspiration. You should write about this. You
Mhm.
should share your story with people. You could inspire a lot of people. And so I listened to them and I wrote my first book called Finding My Hero Within and just put it out there because I thought, well, maybe it will help a few people. We'll just put it out there. In 2 days, that book became a bestseller and it took on a life of its own. And that's what took me to the Times Square billboard and to the Emmys and to Oxford, all these places.
Hmm.
But the success came so fast. Like I did not have the capability, the capacity to hold that much success all at once. My nervous system just literally crashed because I was flying all over the place, doing all of these
Yeah.
interviews and meeting celebrities and, all of these things that I'm a gal from a small town in Oklahoma. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was just
Right.
out having a great time, but my nervous system just crashed and I began to
Hmm.
fall apart behind the scenes. My
Hmm.
reputation and my career had been built on resilience and being strong, but I wasn't. I was falling apart behind the scenes, and I was afraid to tell anyone because I was afraid that it would ruin my career and my reputation. But
Hmm.
I did, thanks to my son, who is now 15, who stays with me part time, needed me to care for him. So it was because of my desire to care for him that I did one of the strongest things I have ever done in my life. And I walked myself into a mental health hospital and I asked for professional help. And
Hmm.
it wasn't because I was suicidal, it was because I just simply could not function. So they kept me for a week. And that week in the mental health hospital changed me. I saw life from a totally different perspective. And when I came out of the hospital, stepped down into the parking lot before I got in my car. I took a picture of myself, crazy hair, no makeup, because that's how it is inside a
Hmm.
mental health hospital.
Yeah.
And I did that because my soul told me, you've got to share this. You have to talk about this, and you have to talk about it widely and broadly. And I said, I'm trying to hide this. Like, I'm ashamed. I don't want people to know I've just been in a mental health hospital when I'm a resilient, strong woman. And my soul
Hmm.
said, do you trust me? And I said, I do. So I posted that picture on my socials and I said, I just got out of a mental health hospital, not because I was visiting someone, but because I was a patient. And I began this series, hashtag authentically Amy, about my journey through this mental health journey and this mental health hospital and what led to that and the backstory. And I was afraid of what would happen. I thought people would come after me, calling me a fake and a fraud, and I'm supposed to be strong, yet I'm not. But what I found was just the opposite. People began to surround me with support and they cheered me on and they began saying, "Me too, me too.
Yeah.
Keep talking about this. Nobody's talking about this. It's so refreshing. I haven't found anyone who knows what I'm going through because nobody's talking about this." So this began my understanding. Like I have been practicing living authentically for quite a while, but this began my understanding of what it really is.
Hmm.
And I began getting private messages from men saying, I can't say this publicly, but you are helping so many men. There are so many men
Wow.
dealing with this, and we want to be authentic, but we don't know how. And by you sharing your story, you're helping us. And I was just blown away. So that led to my research and to all the study and the work that I've done with authentic intelligence to create the framework that I have now. And it's just wild the way it draws people in because, like you said, this is what people crave. This is what the world wants right now. It's just people to be real, but so many people are afraid to do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
It's just so powerful. It really is.
It is amazing that we are so afraid to be real, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Brene Brown did research of that as well. And what's coming up for me is this notion that you were you were going down that busy track again, right? And I want to talk about for a second our nervous system because
Mm.
you use that term, I use that term a lot, and I almost feel sometimes that when I use that term that it is not a widely known or understood term in the world. And I almost feel like it's jargon. Like I've been in certain industries, and so have you, where we use jargon that our industry
Yeah.
understands, but the rest of the world doesn't. So I want you to give Amy's version of what that means when your nervous system was so out of whack that you had to go seek help but it took you down. But I want you to put it in just a way that women and men too, because apparently you're reaching them in a way that I would have never guessed, and yet I understand
Right.
that now.
Yeah.
What is that? What does that mean to you when you say your nervous system is out of whack?
To me, it meant just I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe in my body. There was
Hmm.
so much pressure and uncertainty. And because I had not experienced any of this before, my body didn't know how it felt. And so it felt unsafe in my body because my body had had this experience before, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So when we go through something new, if the body hasn't been there before, the body automatically goes into this, it's almost on attack, like, no, this is not safe, stop this, stop it now, because
Hmm.
this isn't safe, even though it may be a safe situation. So it's us working through and figuring out how to communicate with our bodies to let our bodies know that
Hmm.
this is safe. But I didn't know any of that back then. I didn't know how to do that. I just knew that
Hmm.
I felt unsafe in my body and that the pressure
Right.
was just too much.
Yeah. I think that's one of the most misunderstood parts of our nervous system. It's not a mental, you went to a hospital that dealt in mental health, but yet it is the body that's having the experience. It
Right.
isn't our mind. And so our mind can talk and settle the body, but the body is what's actually driving it, which is so fascinating because we get into these panic attacks and anxiety attacks and all of that, but it's the body. And as you said, our body, when we put it in an uncomfortable position in a place where it's never been in a very quick way, its reaction is primal. It's like fight or flight.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when we hunker down, that because it's fight or flight or freeze. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of us just freeze. We don't know how to deal with that. So tell me how your clients are showing up with these experiences of that not feeling safe, because that really is another term that I don't know that people understand. What does it feel like to not feel safe? It is a body thing. It isn't something you can get your mind wrapped around. And so many people are not feeling safe in the world today. So what are your clients presenting you with today when they go through your framework as far as their uncomfortable situations?
I'm glad you brought that up because it is so important to talk about this. Like, I have learned that my body tells me first, like before it hits my brain and before my emotions feel it, my body senses it first. And we can learn to do that the more we learn to work with our bodies. But the very first step in my framework is self-discovery. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
can't know who we are authentically until we go deep dive into self-discovery. We know more about other people than we know about ourselves. And we do that on purpose because we don't really want to know what's down there. We've shoved stuff down there on purpose so that it never surfaces again, So
Really
what
deep.
happens? And we fold it nicely and neatly, and tuck it down
That's
in there,
exactly. Yeah.
right? So what
Yeah.
my clients initially, what they feel is this unsettled, like,
Hmm.
I don't want to feel this, I don't want to even acknowledge this, I don't want to own that this is part of me. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I don't want to own that this is a part of me
Hmm.
because it was traumatic, like I have times like that
Yeah.
in my life. So they are coming to me with a lot of fear. I feel, I don't feel, but I understand that they have a lot of fear. And the very first step that we do is we go back to when they were a child, and ask them to remember what it was like when they were 10 years old. Because part of my program in the self discovery step is we focus on the past, the present, and the future. So going into the past, talking about when you were 10 years old and the beliefs that were passed on to you then, are they beliefs that you really hold true now? Or are you still believing them because you were told to believe them? Things like that. But to get down there and to access that part of our bodies is really hard, and it creates a lot of fear. So with this gift that we talked about of having this, offering this safe space, I serve as a guide alongside them to really relieve the fears. And they end up just like a sigh of relief of, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like, this is
Yeah.
really a healthy, good thing that we're doing here. But it's
Right.
the fear is the number one emotion I see with them
Yeah.
struggling with at first.
Yeah. Here is an amazing feeling, emotion that will keep us from so much of our good in our life. I was talking on a call just right before this, that fear will stop us faster than anything. And it is a primal emotion. Fear was given to us in our primal states for various important purposes, and that is to stay
Yeah.
alive. And now we've translated this fear because I was in a life ring, I think a million years ago, and they did this thing where they ask questions, and you get a partner, you go, what are you afraid of? And then you say, what are you afraid of? You just kept asking the person. And literally, when you get down to the bottom conversation, we're afraid to die. Now, when you
Mm,
see, when you're getting rejected, asking somebody out on a date, that's a form of fear. And it all just comes down to we're not going to die, but
yeah.
we put it in that box. So how do you look at people's soul and see that fear and give them that safety? Because that's the only way we can move through it. How we can bring it up to the surface, we can look at it and we can dissolve it, but you have to feel safe. So what is that?
Mhm.
What is your best wisdom that you can give to somebody before they even work with you, that they can begin to feel safe in their body?
Sure. It really does go back to what you just said, that I say a lot that people are afraid of public speaking. Like, they say public speaking is like the second fear after death, but that's not actually true, because
Mm,
you don't really fear public speaking. You fear
mhm.
messing up, or
Yeah.
you fear being judged by others, or you fear saying the wrong thing, or
Mhm.
you fear, it's
Right.
not the public speaking that you're really
Right.
afraid of. It's a
Right.
deeper issue. It's something much more specific. So we dive into, and you can dive into just exactly what you said. What is the specific thing that is causing this general fear of, speaking in public, or whatever it is, the situation is? But it is a deep, deep dive. Like, we dive really deep, and it gets uncomfortable. And I tell them, you have to be willing to sit with the uncomfortable and allow the uncomfortable to surface, and
Mhm.
hold space for the uncomfortable. Because when you hold space for the uncomfortable and you sit in it and you allow it to be uncomfortable, it begins to
Mhm.
be comfortable. It's just how it works. It's one of
Yeah.
those things you have to go through. You can't go around, you can't go over it and under it. We have to go through
Mhm.
it. But it's so beautiful watching this process of it unfold, and these people
Mhm.
blooming and growing, and this fear that they never would have done at the beginning. Just, oh, it's such a gift. I feel so gifted to be able to watch this process unfold in these
Yeah.
lives. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I think that's so important that we have to go through that messy middle to get
Yeah.
to the good stuff. Number one, I was having a conversation with somebody recently about um the whole positivity, taking the be positive pill, right? This conversation, especially for women, we've been taught to smile and smile through it and be positive. And positivity is great. I really believe I people say to me all the time, I'm too positive. And yet it's about recognizing where the pain is and sitting with that pain, because
Yeah.
pain is there for a reason. And so what
Hmm.
would you share with women, especially that want to put on the mask of positivity? I'm not diminishing positivity. I'm just saying that that doesn't fix it. It doesn't change the dynamics, and the pain and the angst and all of those emotions are still going to be inside of you unless you bring them up, feel
Yeah.
them, go through the messy middle and work through it. So what is the best wisdom you can share with women when they're believing that this positivity is going to solve their problems? Smiling.
I I talked about this in, because I have online communities that I do with self-discovery, and I talked about this just the other night with one of my communities. So it's perfect timing.
Hey.
Our emotions, pain, all of that is part of our communication system. Like, society teaches us not to feel our emotions, not to
Mhm.
acknowledge them, not definitely don't act out on them. But when we do that, we're missing a part of our communication system. We have those
Mhm.
emotions, they have a message to share with us. That's
Mhm.
really all they're for, is to send us a message. But when we're pushing them away or pushing them down, we're not receiving the message. And
Right.
what it does, this is what happens. It creates a loop that's unfinished. So it's not a completed loop. It's this loop that's open at the end. So it has a beginning and an end, but they're not connected there because you haven't allowed that emotion to serve its purpose. All our
Right.
emotions want to do is to serve a purpose. And there's research by Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor that says when an emotion comes in, if we allow ourselves to feel it and
Mm-hmm.
receive the message, it can dissipate within 90
Mm-hmm.
seconds if
Mm-hmm.
we don't hold
Mm-hmm.
on to it and we don't allow it to be a hurdle. That if we allow it to serve its purpose and move on, it only takes 90 seconds. But we don't
Mm-hmm.
experience that because we
Right.
either push it away or we grab onto it and it becomes something for us to fight against.
Yeah.
But our emotions are so, so powerful. So when we begin to see them, change our perspective of our emotions, understand the message that they're trying to send, allow ourselves to feel it, even the uncomfortable, then we
Mm-hmm.
close that loop and the body says, ah, okay, I can move
Yeah.
on now. What's next?
Right.
We have to close the loop, and that's a big part of it.
That is huge. That is huge because we do. We are a world of people that are holding on to these emotions, pushing them down,
Yeah.
ignoring them, or acting out on them. So that's the nature of us being in our primal state is that fear that comes through us and we would either fly away or freeze or fight, and then we dissipate that emotion. But instead now we hold on to it. And I love that analogy of the loop because that people can understand loops these days. They're so
Yeah.
fascinating. I want to talk about your authentic intelligence process from perspective of how people can get a hold of you, what's available to them, because I always ask my audience to get into action, take some small action. So I want to know if you have a opportunity that they can check out on your website, on your social media to connect with you and begin this discovery process.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to connect with your audience. I love to get to know people at their core, obviously, their souls, their stories.
Yeah.
And my website is pretty much a one-stop shop. All of my social media links are on there. And I do have a Substack. It's not on there, but you can find me pretty easily on Substack.
Hmm.
I have books. My first book, like I said, is about my journey of living with a broken neck. And then my second book is a reflective coloring workbook that walks you
Oh.
through the self discovery process. So it's intentional coloring, it's not just a bunch of coloring pages. It's
Hmm.
each chapter has a coloring page, a journal entry, reflection questions, and activities to incorporate that into your life. So it's a very
Hmm.
intentional coloring book that allows you to reflect. It's really powerful, and I do that in community as well. If you don't want to do it on your own, there's an opportunity to do that in a community with me and other people. And then I
Hmm.
also offer a self discovery community where we go through a different route, which is the one I was talking about, where we go through your past, your present, and your future. And then the 10th, and it's 10 weeks. The 10th week is you create a personal mission statement. So you have learned all of this stuff about yourself. And then at the end, it's your personal mission statement that you filter everything through. So you don't have
Hmm.
to decide, is this for me or if this is this not for me? It's just, does it fit in this filter? Does it fit in this mission statement or not? I do that in community. I very rarely do one-on-ones because
Hmm.
we learn so much from other people. I love being
Yes.
able to learn from other people. So I do a lot of community things. Then I do speaking engagements, that kind of thing, workshops, and
Yeah.
all that can be found on my website. So
Okay. So that'll be in the show notes. I love the idea of a coloring book because it is that visceral experience. And I've done it in various courses over my life. And so I'm just sharing this with the audience that it is so powerful to use coloring books in an intentional way. They just have such magic to them. And then the idea of being in any kind of community and a mission statement. I used to teach leadership to leaders and managers, and for business it's great, but for your own personal life I can't recommend that enough. I think that everybody should go on your website and check that portion out because it's so important to have a mission statement for our lives that guides us on our purpose, our values, our our choices unless we're just flailing around out there. I do want to come back just for a second to the men reaching out to you from that vulnerability, because I mostly talk to women, and yet this is really intriguing me a little bit, that what is it that you feel was their overriding feeling that they were looking to you to help them uncover more for themselves. I find that so beautiful to hear that, honestly. And I want to know just a little bit
Yeah.
more while we have a few more minutes.
Sure. Yeah, it is very interesting. I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah.
And what I noticed was the women would comment publicly on my posts, but the
Hmm.
men would send me private messages. And so what they were saying to me is that we're considered weak, and we're considered, there's something wrong with us if we talk about this, but we need to talk about it.
Mm.
One of them on LinkedIn, I don't remember even how I connected with him, but was having a conversation with me behind the scenes, asking more questions about my experience, my mental health
Mhm.
experience. And then one day I opened LinkedIn, and there was this, he made a post thanking me publicly, saying that he had made his first appointment. This is an adult man, his first
Wow.
appointment with a psychiatrist, and he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And he finally figured out what was wrong with him for his whole life. And it was because I shared my journey so authentically, so openly, that he said he works with children, with students, and that he can't recommend that they take care of themselves if he's not doing it himself. So I think it was the authentic nature of it, that I didn't do it for show. I didn't
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it for attention. I didn't do it for people to feel sorry for me. I did it to
Hmm.
say that this is my experience, and I know other people are going through this too. So I want to put it out there and show support. And I think
Yeah.
the men felt supported. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't think that
Mhm.
they're encouraged to be authentic in really any
Mhm.
area of their lives.
Right.
And in this space, I think they really, like I said, I think they felt safe, and I think
Yeah.
they felt supported. And it really was just magical. I'm trying to decide what to do with that, like this just
I
really a
know.
cool thing
Yeah.
to have
I know
happen.
that
So
I talk about women a lot, that we got a playbook, a masculine playbook, and that we got our messages and how we're supposed to act and how success shows up. And men, they got the same playbook, but they also got so many messages that we as women have permission to do, whether it be emotional or cry or experience and share about mental health in any way, shape, or form, and be vulnerable. And that is put in a box for men as being weak. When the
yeah,
reality is, it's just bringing in that feminine energy for both of us, for men and women. And I often say that I've got this message couple of years ago that I'm supposed to wake up the feminine on the planet. And it isn't just for women, it's the feminine energy that is missing from all of us. We haven't
yes,
balanced ourselves. We're completely out of balance. So I think
hmm,
that's so beautiful just to hear that, number one. And that, yes, I think I will just send up energy and it'll come back however it's supposed to, for whatever you're supposed to
yeah,
do with that, because I think
yeah,
it's just beautiful. And I'm so encouraged to know that there is a messenger like you out there that can share information like that, that will touch these lives, because that's what you're doing. You're changing the planet. You're changing the
mm,
vibration on the planet in
yeah.
such a remarkable, beautiful way. And I'm so honored that you're now my friend, and you only live in Oklahoma. So that in and of itself is awesome.
Oh,
So
well, thank you so much.
I want to ask you, so for any women that are listening, because those are most of the audience, how would she feel knowing that she's out of alignment? What kind of things might she start to feel besides getting a big crash and falling headfirst into the living room? Because we don't have to get there, although that's where some of us go. I mean, I've heard more
Yeah.
stories about going blind and doing things because the universe will tell us, knock it off.
Oh,
And
yes.
yet we have telltale signs. So share some of those signs that you experienced with other women along your journey that somebody might resonate with.
Yeah, I would love to. One of the keynotes I give is called How to Fall Apart Without Losing Yourself.
Oh,
And what I talk about in that is that most of the time, and this happens to us as women, when I ask people to raise their hands in the room, every hand goes up. We come to a place where we feel like we need to fall apart, or we're on the verge of falling apart, or we have fallen apart. We're just like throwing our hands up, I give up.
Mm.
Most of the time, that is a result of us not being authentic in one or more areas of our lives. So when we're pretending, or we're not saying things that need to be said, when we're not doing things that need to be done, and we are pretending to be one way here and another way here, then that lack of authenticity builds up in our system, and our system really wants us to be who we're created to be, who we're meant to be. But when we keep fighting it, it just causes pressure, and it causes tension, and it causes conflict in multiple areas of our lives, and we can't figure out what's going on. We don't think it's us. We don't know if it's our partner or our business. We try to figure out who it is and what's going on. And most of the time, it's simply the fact that we're just not being authentic. That the inside, who we are inside, is not matching how we're living on the outside. And really, that's what authenticity is. A lot of people think that being authentic is just not having a filter and spewing everything. And that is not it at all. It's simply not it. It is when you're
That is a
inside
big
and you're
misconception.
right. It's really just
Yeah.
when your inside and your outside lives
Hmm.
come into alignment and you live from that place. So I think
Hmm.
that is an idea that I would like for the women to consider in those areas of your life when you feel like you just want to throw your hands up. Really think about,
Yeah.
where am I not being authentic in my life?
Yeah. Yeah. All these words, I just hope that the messaging for in alignment and even authentic, as you said,
Yeah.
I think it's a misconceived word sometimes that
Yeah.
it literally, I can just say whatever I want, then I'm authentic. And that is not what this is. So I
Not at
love that
all.
you cleared that up somewhat. So we're in 2026. I'm so excited about 2026 because it's
Me
the
too.
number one year in numerology. We had to go through year 9 last year and the breaking down of everything. And I see amazing birthing and prospects and I'm so excited about 2026. So I wonder, do you have a word for the year for
I
2026?
don't I don't really do words. I tend to focus more on being present in the moment
Okay.
and
Okay. Well, a
just
lot of people
allowing
have
things
them.
to
I just like to
surface.
ask that.
Yeah, I know a lot
Yeah.
of people do words. That's just not something I have done. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So what I would like for you to do though right now is just drop into your intuition. And if you want, you can close your eyes. And I want you to talk to your future self because our future selves talk to us all the time and they
Mhm.
have even more wisdom than we have at this moment. And I would like for you to ask her, what is the message that you would like to give to the women, especially, but I think now it's everybody on the planet for 2026? What is the best wisdom that you can share to navigate this opportunity of 2026 that is revealing itself in such a magical way? Let her speak
Yeah.
to you and
Yeah.
then
She said,
tell us.
don't underestimate yourself. That's what she said.
Mm,
That don't disregard something, an idea or a feeling or something that comes that feels too big, feels overwhelming, or
mhm,
feels like you don't know how to do it. Don't disregard
mhm,
that. Don't underestimate yourself. It's coming to you for a reason. You're being given that idea or that message or that information for a reason, and that you're not too small. You're not too small for it, that it's meant for you.
mhm.
That's why you're being given that, because it's meant for you. Take it
Yeah,
seriously.
I love that. You're never too small. That's such a
Yeah.
beautiful sentiment to end on. So
Yeah.
I really just want to thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your wise woman energy here with us today. And like I said, everything is in the show notes. So please go find Amy's beautiful alignment and authenticity because it is just beautiful. And thank you again so much for sharing with us today.
Ah, Debbie, thank you so much. It's been an honor. I just really am grateful. Thank you.